This is the book of Isaiah, chapter 61, verse 1. The Spirit of the Lord power is upon me, because the Lord hath anointed me to preach good tidings unto the meek. He hath sent me to bind up the brokenhearted, to proclaim liberty to the captives, and the opening of the prison to them that are bound, to proclaim the acceptable year of Yahweh Bahashem Yahushai, and the day of vengeance of all power, to comfort all that mourn. So giving all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh Bahashem Yahushai Bahashem Rachakodash. Double honors to the elders, apostles, and bishops of Great Millstone, as well as the men that taught them, and peace and blessings unto the 144,000, as well as the rest of the elect. This is Brother Taza Pie, here with your daily lunch special, and today we're going to be serving up some more third woe. All right, third woe is the order of the day, okay? But what I wanted to look at, all right, in particular, well, let's go into this, okay? Because it's talking about, you know, it said, well, the Spirit of the Lord power is upon me, because the Most High had anointed me to preach good tidings, all right? That's the gospel to the meek, because the meek are the ones who will inherit the earth. All right, so, right, and it says, he has sent me to bind up the brokenhearted, to proclaim liberty to the captives, and the opening of the prison to them that are bound, all right? And we know that in the book of St. John, chapter 8, verse 32, it says that ye shall know the truth, and that the truth shall make you free, all right? It ain't like you're going to preach this gospel and then prison doors just going to start opening. No, what you do in preaching the gospel, you introduce the kingdom, all right, unto them, and you put them in reference of Luke 17, 20 and 21, all right, that where the Lord said that the kingdom of heaven is in you. All right, then you had that liberty. You could be in prison. You could be, you know, suffering whatever. But knowing the truth makes you free. All right, having this truth gives you liberty. The scriptures speak about the liberty that we have, all right, in this grace, all right, in this gospel, in Yahushua. He told us that his burden is light, and his yoke is easy, and his burden is light, all right? So, right, when you proclaim this gospel, you for those that believe, you put them in the spirit, in the vibration of the kingdom, all right? So it's just like us. Shit, I'm in captivity. Hell, I'm in prison. It ain't a hard prison, but it's a, you know, it's a soft prison. But I have to toe a line. There's a line that I have to toe. If I don't toe it, you know, they got them penitentiaries and the county jails, the city jails. They got a list of jails for us, all right, who don't want to toe the line. And that's why it says, verse 2, to proclaim the acceptable year of the Lord and the day of vengeance of our power. All right, and this is what all of this third woe is about. All right, that's what it's about. This is all the Heavenly Father's vengeance. And I broke down, I gave you the secular or the temporal reasons for the war, why Esau wants the war. All right, because it's a banker's war. They need this for the reset. But as I think I went into that in my lesson, Daniel 4 and 17. I don't know if I did. But Daniel 4 and 17 tells us that, no, I didn't. That the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men. So this is his. At the end of the day, it's his purpose. You understand? At the end of the day, is his purpose. So Esau's purpose, what he trying to do, it don't matter, right? Outside of prophecy. So that's what Esau, he's being used to bring this third, well, all of these final prophecies about. all right, to fulfill the Most High's will. But in his mind, this war is to accomplish his agenda of his NWO, all right, and that's acronym for New World Order, or OWO, if you will, One World Order. And this is how he's going about to achieve it, because his blessing is the sword. So he got to achieve shit by war, either covert or overt war. All right, see, people just think, oh, we ain't had a war since Vietnam or since 9/11. Bullshit. Every day you at war. All right? Every day you at war. You go and buy water. When you paying for water at your house, you pay for that water at your house. But then you got to make a special trip to the store to go buy other water. Why? Because you at war. Your government don't give a damn about you having clean water to drink, because they are at war with you. When you go to the grocery store, take you all day to go grocery shopping, because you got to sift through trash. You got to read labels, all right? Even the little tiny stickers, you got to check numbers, you know? Because we at war. You think you're going to do all this shit when the Israelites rule the earth? You can eat off the streets in our kingdom, because the streets will literally be gold. Gold does not harbor germs or carry germs. And silver silver is straight toxic to it destroys microbes and bacteria and all of that. Well, I mean, we're gonna have a right kingdom. All right. So now, but what I really want to talk about, we're really right here, Zephaniah 3:8. Therefore, wait ye upon me, said Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, until the day that I rise up to the prey. For my determination is to gather the nations, that I may assemble the kingdoms, to pour upon them mine indignation. All right, because the day of vengeance burneth in the Lord's heart. All right, even all my fierce anger. You get that? To pour upon them mine indignation, even all my fierce anger. For all the earth shall be devoured with the fire of my jealousy. All right? And part of that is for the controversy of Zion. That's Isaiah 34. I believe that's 34. But right, I want to play some of this Rachel Maddow, because I really had no idea that Iran and North Korea was so tight to where the majority of Iran's missile system was largely in part, I say, given to them, for lack of a better term, and they were helped, all right, by North Korea. They were helped extensively by North Korea. And this has been over years, all right? I'm going to let Rachel Maddow play, and this is in light, right? I had it all set up. This is in light of the brother Karabad in the camp, all
and
right?
also the land of Israel,
and you see
will be destroyed. But the difference is our land will be built back up again. And I'm sure the Lord will have missiles hit other places, but that's the two main targets according to Bible prophecy.
All right, so, and he just did this maybe, 30 minutes to an hour ago, not even maybe. And the title here, I will gather all nations, and that's it. And then he has, you might can see it, I blew it up. He has an article that says over 20 nations now militarily involved in Iran and Israel war. Right, because now it is a full-scale world war, although it ain't full-scale hot. All right. And I say full scale world war because now everybody got some skin in the game. All right. I got a real good video where the spokesman for England is coming out cursing out Trump because they hurting. Yeah, they've been hurting since Biden and Nord Stream and all of that. They complaining about, energy and the economy ultimately. All right, but it's affecting the world, and I said that a few days ago. All right, that this is a war on the economy, which is a war on the people. To bring you into digitalization, they want to tokenize you. All right, they want you tokenized as well as everything else. They're already in the progress of tokenizing everything. All right, for digitalization, for the cloud, and for blockchain. This is where everything is going. So this is what he put up today, and I had planned on speaking on North Korea. So, right, this is at Great Millstone. We're all on one accord. All right, I'm just going in on one of the nations, but well, I ain't gonna say but that's some of the brother's article that he found. I don't know where it's from, but End Time Headlines, it appears. All right, so from End Time Headlines, and I'll post a link to this video so you can go and check this out. All right, but now what I want you to do is check out Rachel Maddow. I got to play at least 5 minutes of her. All right.
And reportedly making progress on hypersonic glide vehicles that could potentially...
Them glide vehicles. Iran is unleashing some bad missiles, some frightening missiles, just to show you the power of the Lord. And them missiles ain't even, that's like a minute fraction, a very minute, minuscule fraction of the Most High's power. And they're frightening. Ooh, let me show you one before we get into this. This stuff is scary. Look right there. God, how you stop that? That's a Paragon Falcon. It's coming with so much force. Look how it just rips up the ground beneath it. If you anywhere in the vicinity, that thing passed by you, it'll rip you to shreds. I don't know the radius, but you could tell how that thing ripped up the ground. It's coming with some force. And again, that's just a little minute fraction of the Most High's power. Look at this thing. It's like that Paragon Falcon. Ain't no stopping that. Now back to Rachel, or let's get to Rachel. It ain't no stopping that. They done fucked up. They done fivefold. Israel and the U.S. done fivefold, but that's okay because their blood ain't on the line. This is why they do this shit. Again, this is the elites taking humanity to war. They ain't gonna. They in some bunkers somewhere, and that's coming out. How these politicians and these billionaires, they ordering bunkers like it's a side order of fries. You see? And they gonna leave you out here to die.
5 words may have just changed the trajectory of this entire conflict. While much of the world was focused on the strikes hitting Iran's military infrastructure, a statement from Pyongyang suddenly forced intelligence analysts from Washington to Tel Aviv to pause and reassess the situation. Kim Jong-un publicly signaled his support for Iran with a short but chilling message: "We are ready to help." At first glance, it might sound like routine geopolitical posturing, the kind of statement leaders sometimes make to show solidarity with allies or to challenge Western influence, but this particular message carries far more weight than typical diplomatic rhetoric. Behind those 5 words lies a decades-long relationship between two heavily sanctioned states that have quietly cooperated in ways that have repeatedly alarmed intelligence agencies around the world. For more than 40 years, North Korea and Iran have been building one of the most concerning military partnerships in modern geopolitics. Their cooperation has stretched across multiple domains: missile development, weapons components, military technology exchanges, and cyber operations. Analysts have long suspected that technical knowledge has flowed between the two countries in ways that push both closer to advanced weapons capabilities than many governments are comfortable acknowledging publicly. Much of this cooperation has happened away from the spotlight through covert shipments, secret research exchanges, and indirect channels designed to avoid international scrutiny. What Kim Jong-un's statement does is bring that shadow relationship into the open at a moment when tensions in the region are already dangerously high. The concern among security experts is not simply that North Korea supports Iran politically, but that it might be willing to provide tangible assistance, technical expertise, weapon systems, or intelligence cooperation that could alter the balance of the conflict. Even the possibility of such support is enough to trigger alarm inside military planning rooms across multiple governments. Intelligence communities know that once these kinds of alliances become publicly acknowledged, they can evolve quickly, especially when both sides believe they are confronting the same strategic adversaries. That's why analysts immediately began revisiting decades of intelligence reports and military assessments the moment Kim's message was released. To understand why those 5 words sent shockwaves through the intelligence community, you have to go back to the origins of the relationship between North Korea and Iran. This partnership didn't emerge overnight, and it certainly didn't begin with the current conflict. Its roots stretch back to the brutal Iran-Iraq War, one of the bloodiest wars of the late 20th century. At that time, Iran was deeply isolated. International sanctions, diplomatic pressure, and political hostility meant that many countries refused to sell weapons to Tehran, yet Iran was fighting for survival against the forces of Saddam Hussein, whose military was receiving support and equipment from several foreign governments. Desperate for weapons capable of countering Iraq's military strength, Iran turned to countries that were willing to defy international pressure. North Korea became one of the few nations prepared to fill that gap. Pyongyang began supplying Iran with Scud-B ballistic missiles and other military hardware at a time when very few governments were willing to provide Tehran with advanced weapons systems. These early transfers were not just simple arms deals, they marked the beginning of a strategic relationship that would quietly deepen over the decades that followed. Those missile shipments laid the...
So that's some interesting history right there. All right. So if you didn't know that, make note of that. All right, they was pushed into this partnership. All right, and that's what Esau does. He oppresses people so much he forces these unlikely alliances. All right, and so this has been going on for the better part of 30 plus years. They're saying 40, which I could easily see that. All right, but that's some very important history going forward.
Foundation for ongoing military cooperation that continued long after the Iran-Iraq War ended. Over the years, intelligence reports have suggested that engineers, scientists, and military specialists from both countries exchanged knowledge and technology, particularly in the field of missile development. Iran's growing ballistic missile program, for example, has long been suspected of drawing heavily from designs originally developed in North Korea. While both governments typically deny the extent of this cooperation, numerous international investigations and intelligence assessments have pointed to overlapping technologies, similar engineering patterns, and shared research methods. Beyond missile programs, analysts believe the relationship expanded into cyber operations and technological collaboration aimed at bypassing sanctions imposed by the United Nations and Western governments. Both countries developed reputations for sophisticated cyber activities targeting financial systems, infrastructure networks, and government institutions. Cooperation in these areas, while difficult to prove publicly, has often been suspected by cybersecurity researchers who track patterns of digital attacks linked to state-sponsored groups. The strategic logic behind the partnership has remained remarkably consistent over the decades. Both governments view the United States and its allies as their primary geopolitical rivals. That shared perspective has created a powerful incentive to cooperate quietly violently against what they perceive as a common adversary. In many ways, the relationship has been built around a simple principle that has shaped alliances throughout history. The enemy of my enemy can become my partner. What makes Kim Jong-un's recent statement so significant is that it shifts this partnership from the shadows into the spotlight. For decades, cooperation between Pyongyang and Tehran has mostly existed in the realm of intelligence reports, leaked documents, and quiet diplomatic warnings. Now, with tensions already escalating in the region, the leader of North Korea has publicly acknowledged his willingness to support Iran. That kind of statement forces governments around the world to consider possibilities they might previously have treated as theoretical. If that support were to move beyond rhetoric and into real military or technological assistance, the implications could ripple far beyond the immediate conflict. It could complicate diplomatic negotiations, increase regional instability, and force other global powers to rethink their strategic calculations. That is why those 5 words, simple, direct, and delivered without elaboration, captured the attention of intelligence analysts almost instantly. Because when a long-standing partnership that has quietly developed for more than 4 decades suddenly steps into the open during an active conflict, it raises one critical question. How far are both sides actually willing to go now that the world is watching, instead of the relationship fading away once the immediate crisis was over? It deepened and expanded into something far more sophisticated. Throughout the 1990s, North Korean engineers and missile technicians traveled to Iran to help develop the country's indigenous ballistic missile program. The crown jewel of this cooperation was the transfer of technology.
Okay, so they're going back to as far as the 80s. So that's, over 40 years. So this is a strong partnership, which probably just as strong, if not stronger, than the partnership that they have with Russia. All right, but Russia, the big bear, the big bad bear. We talk about the big bad wolf, but hey, in prophecy, you got the big bad bear, and they're going to end this. All right, they're going to end it. But yeah, brothers, now we see North Korea got some skin in the game.
Related to North Korea's Nodong medium-range ballistic missile, which became the foundation for Iran's Shahab-3 missile system. Now, let that sink in for a moment. One of the most important weapons in Iran's current arsenal, the missile that gives Thrand the ability to threaten targets across the Middle East, exists in its current form because of North Korean technology and expertise. This isn't speculation or conspiracy theory. It has been documented extensively by United Nations panels of experts, independent weapons researchers, and intelligence agencies from multiple countries. The Shahab-3 and its subsequent variants are essentially the children of North Korean missile engineering, adapted and refined by Iranian scientists, but born from blueprints and knowledge that originated in Pyongyang. The cooperation didn't stop with the Shahab-3, and this is where the story starts to get genuinely alarming for anyone paying attention to global security reports from UN monitoring groups, and various intelligence assessments have indicated that missile technology continued flowing between the two countries well into the 2000s and beyond, with North Korean components and expertise showing up in increasingly advanced Iranian systems. There were credible reports that technology related to the BM-25 Muson intermediate-range ballistic missile was shared with Iran, potentially giving TAN access to designs capable of reaching targets far beyond the Middle East. North Korean technicians were reportedly present at Iranian missile test facilities, providing technical guidance and troubleshooting expertise that accelerated Iran's development timeline by years, if not decades. Every sanctions regime, every diplomatic effort, every attempt to isolate these two countries from the global weapons market only seemed to push them closer together, creating a self-reinforcing cycle of cooperation that has proven remarkably resistant to outside pressure. Now, let's talk about what North Korea could actually provide to Iran in the current moment. Because we are ready to help only matters if there's substance behind it. And the uncomfortable truth is that Pyongyang has a great deal of substance to offer. The most obvious category is ballistic missile technology, and not just the older systems that form the basis of their historical cooperation. North Korea has made dramatic advances in its missile program in recent years, successfully testing intercontinental ballistic missiles, developing solid fuel rocket technology that makes missiles faster to deploy and harder to detect before launch.
So let the weak say I am strong. All right? Because Iran got some of the best missiles right now. All right? Let me see. Is it? Yeah, let me put this. I don't know why I drew a blank on that. This is Joel chapter 3, verse 9. Proclaim ye this among the Gentiles. Prepare war. Wake up the mighty men. Let all the men of war draw near. See, ain't North Korea men of war? And they got a whole military. They got an arsenal of missiles. They are men of war. What are they doing? Drawing near. All right? Getting close to Iran where they've been close. But now they done and say, well, I forgot how she worded it. Shit. But basically they in. I forgot how she worded that. But they coming to the aid of Iran, like they did in the 80s, back in the 80s. When Saddam Hussein in Iraq, backed by America, was going at Iran. All right? So now, war is prepared. The mighty men are awakened. You know, and they've helped extensively to keep Iran current, all right, in the arena of missile tech, all right, keeping them up to date, all right, and with the little victories that Israel and America are, you know, what they boasting on these victories. Well, that was against Iran's D&C arsenal. They ain't even broke when they broke out that that one you just seen, the Fatha 2. Yeah, you ain't got no answer for that. The U.S. does not have an answer for that. The U.S. Don't have the short-range hypersonic missiles. They have the intercontinental, which are hypersonic. But China was boasting, one of their spokesmen, saying that they got a, what they call it? The 61? They say it got 60 nuclear warheads with one hydrogen bomb. So this missile carries 60 nuclear warheads with one hydrogen bomb also. And he said it could be anywhere in the world, any corner of the world, in 20 minutes. That's China. Iran is showing us a little bit of what they can do. They ain't bust out their top-notch shit yet. And Russia, you don't even want to see what Russia got when Russia come through. So this is designed for the U.S. to fail. Everybody knows it. Well, whether they know it or not, people are talking about it. You hear Scott Ritter, the U.S. can't win this war. People are saying, Colonel Douglas McGregor, the U.S. can't win this war. The U.S. will not win this war. It's not designed for the U.S. to win. It's designed to make this a third world prison state. That's what this war is about. And Trump is just the right man, the charismatic leader to get you to follow along with this BS. But even that ain't working. Even that ain't working. And we're going to break some more of this down. So tune in for part 2. We will break more of this down because it's a lot to it. All right? Because as we always bring out, as we always go, Jeremiah 49:20, right? It says, therefore hear the counsel of the Lord that he had taken against Edom. All right? That's the so-called white people. That is Russia. That's here in America. That's Britain. All throughout Europe. All right? These crackers, these white folks. They're the Edomites. And then you got some tares that look like us, but they are Edomites. But here's the point. All right. So therefore hear the counsel of the Lord that he had taken against Edom. So this is against the so-called white people. It says, and his purposes that he had purposed against the inhabitants of Teman. All right, and that's the so-called Germans. It says, surely the least of the flock shall draw them out. Surely he shall make their habitations desolate with them. So that ain't the one I wanted. That's a good one though, because that is speaking to the least of the flock is the Edomites of Amalek. The Amalekites call themselves Jews and Jewish and Israeli. They are not the true children of Israel. They are not the Israelites. That's why you've never heard them say, we are the Israelites. We're Hebrew Israelites. No, they don't. The Lord didn't put that, well, I'm glad the Lord didn't put that on them to say that. So they use these bywords, oh, we're Israelis, because they're not the true people. Let me see something. I want to get this and get out of here. All right, so this is what I wanted. This is Jeremiah 49:7. Concerning Edom, thus said the Lord of hosts, is wisdom no more in Teman? Is counsel perished from the prudent? Is their wisdom vanished? And this is what they're saying about Trump. It's coming out that Trump, whose name was Drumpf, D-R-M, what is that, P-F? Drumpf? I think Drumpf. But he's German. So Trump is a Temanite. So we see this prophecy being fulfilled in real time. So I knew Trump was a goddamn devil, but I thought he was a smart devil. You know, he's running all these businesses and, you know, having all this success despite, you know, bankruptcies and all of this. But he still, you know, everybody before this, people had a decent view of Trump. And the last thing you would have said was Trump is an idiot. Now these are things that are being spoken. Trump is an idiot. This man is out of his gorge, right? Because he's a Temanite. And concerning Edom, thus said the Lord of hosts, is wisdom no more in Teman. This man is making, like in the lesson that I did, I said, man, you can get a teenager to launch a better strike than what what the U.S. is doing. But I know why that is. Because the U.S. is not trying to win this war. All right, a lot of this is pop control. All right? But right, is wisdom no more in Teman? What's wrong with Trump? He looks like a fucking idiot. Pardon my French, but he looks like he don't have a clue. Right, that's the fulfilled prophecy. It says, is counsel perished from the prudent? I could do a better job than this with no intel. And here it is, you got CIA. You could probably call up MI6. I know you got Mossad. You got intel out the ass. And this is what y'all do? Y'all do this shit? Making Iran look like rock stars over there. But Iran is getting pummeled. But they got the upper hand. Iran has the upper hand, no doubt. All right, and if you think Iran look bad, right now Israel is at least parts of it is resembling Gaza right now. The Iranian military, the IG with the Iranian IRG, Revolutionary Guard, is putting on a clinic against Israel and the U.S. They are putting on a clinic, all right? But right, is their wisdom vanished? And I'm going to leave you with that, all right? Is their wisdom vanished? Because this shit looks elementary, to say the least. This shit look like amateur night for for the U.S.? But then again, you got to consider, all right, Iran's of people been at war in them whole 40 years, living under war conditions and preparing for war, hardened by war. And what is America and Israel? This is a country of twerkers, fast food junkies, overweight, obese. That's the order of the day. Just let yourself go. This is a nation of passport bros. This is a nation of vanity, folly, set in great dignity. That's Babylon. And y'all gonna go up against some hardened warriors? Yeah. Stay tuned. More to come. To the next one. Shalom.